Welcome back to the Two Months Hockey Podcast, episode 294. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and we are presented by Boston Pizza. We'd like to thanks Boston Pizza for sponsoring this episode. I really appreciate them jumping on as they have with us for a few months now. So I know it's been a while since we've recorded. It's been busy and there's a lot going on for sure. So we're going to cover a lot of great hockey topics here coming up in this episode, and we got some fun episodes that are going to follow this one right after. So looking forward to getting some content out there for you guys, and it is fun. There's so much going on, so it's a whole lot of great action, and obviously with the trade deadline coming up on March 7th, there is that part of the excitement as well too. But the Four Nations face-off has taken over the hockey world, and we're going to dive a little bit into that today with our guest. But we're a very special guest as we have joining us on the 2 Months podcast today. So we're super excited for the Calgary Flames for letting us and giving us the time with head coach Ryan Huska. So that interview is going to be coming up very shortly here, but a really fun interview with Ryan here coming up very shortly. But yeah, we're going to touch on a lot of topics. He's been helping his son's team out in Calgary, and then getting the Flames back up and running, and just the great culture that they have in that organization, and the excitement that the next 27 games will have, and a push to the playoffs, and hopefully a playoff berth as well will follow suit with a strong finish. So we're looking forward to the excitement on that side of things, and it's been fun. It's been great to kind of be around the rink and watching this team, and seeing what they can do on and off the ice, and just the closeness that they have within that organization, and the community work that they do as well too is a whole lot of fun. So but yeah, so without further ado, let's get to our interview with Ryan Huska right now. We'll be back to touch on some other hockey topics after. Mutts fans, our next guest is the head coach of the Calgary Flames. We like to welcome Ryan Huska to the 2 Months Hockey Podcast. Ryan, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, and means a lot to have you on. It's obviously a career that I've been following, and you've hit all the check boxes on where you've gone throughout your career in the coaching side of things, and obviously a successful career off the ice as well too, or on the ice as a player. But we're looking forward to having you on and having some good conversations. And one of the cool things that I saw just recently, and I know you were asked about it yesterday with this break, was being able to connect with your son and his team, and being on the ice and giving back as a coach and as a father too. And the smile I saw on your face when that opportunity kind of probably came up, and you were talking about it on Mike Fuda's show, and when Parksy asked yesterday. So how was special to that to you during this break, and kind of regrouping and connecting with your son and then his team as well?
Yeah, I really love that. And that's one thing I think you would say most coaches around this time, they get an opportunity to spend a little bit more time with their family and friends. And for me, we didn't do anything during this break. And part of that was getting an opportunity to go out and skate and help with practice with my son's team. And being a coach in the NHL is just the best job in the world, but you do miss some of the important things in your kids' lives. Just even like watching their practices at times or watching a game. So when you do get those opportunities, it's something that I really enjoy. It is funny though, because he doesn't listen to a thing I say,
Oh
where
no.
some of his teammates would. But that's what you get with your own son. But I do love being on the ice with him. It's a lot of fun for me, and I think it is for him as well.
What have you seen in the trajectory and the progression in minor hockey in Alberta, especially around being around your son? Because we see it a lot. A lot of our kids that we work with, in terms of like the program that we have as well too. It's amazing to what you see in the skill level, the hockey sense, and the dedication. What is it on your end that maybe you get to see when you're out there or watching it as well too?
Yeah, I think you touched on it with the skill level. Like these kids at a younger age are doing things that most older guys had a hard time doing or wouldn't even try to do, but it's something that they've all been brought up with. And whether it's the YouTube or watching the videos that are out there on different platforms. I catch my son doing that a lot, and I know a lot of his buddies do. So they try things at a younger age. But I think one thing that goes along with that, I think the coaches are way more educated now. And a lot of the newer, younger coaches have a really good understanding of where the game is going, and they allow their players to try things like that. And a lot of times at the younger age, it's going to end up in a mistake, or it may end up in a goal against. And I think the coaches have done a better job of learning to live with that, because it really is about developing at that level. And those would be the probably the two things that I would say have been the one thing that's really stood out for me watching my son kind of go through this, the skill set of the players. And I do believe the coaches have done an excellent job of making sure they're prepared and educated and staying on top of the way the game is right now. So it's probably a two-factor thing for me.
Yeah, it's a great answer for sure. And I saw, Willsy had on his Instagram account today showing kind of a little video of you guys doing a small area game at practice today. And I know with minor hockey, that's a big thing too, in those small battle drills and the small area games. What in your mind is so beneficial to the minor hockey players, but the pro players too, of coming with those different ways that you guys can, as coaches, assemble those kind of games and making, because I look at it as it in Ryan, is it's the small compete battle drills. It keeps your mind thinking. You're always kind of thinking, and time and space is a big thing, especially at the National Hockey League level. You don't have much of it, and it's almost getting to that level too at the higher ends of minor hockey as well too. So
So
yeah, so we're I just was wondering, where are you at? What's the beneficial side of things for you in terms of those small area games, those small battle drills, and how great they are for progression in hockey and
uh,
for players' development?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's one of the things I would say for myself as a coach. I've learned a lot from the guys that I've been coaching with over the years, that they bring so much value to a team and so much value in developing a player because it teaches them hockey sense. Um, and the players often don't even know that they're learning that or they're competing because it's fun to them. And that's the other thing with these games, that I think coaches can get their point across with whether it's working on a power play drill like we were today, or trying to increase the compete level of your team. If you put them in situations where they're competitive and they have a little bit of fun with it, there's never any complaining or moaning from the players at our level, because they're enjoying it, and that's ultimately what the guys want. So incorporating those small area battles or small area games to try to help develop your players in a certain portion of their game, I think goes a long way, because some of the things that happen in the game you can't script. So they're still able to think on the fly. They're still able to kind of think out of the box. But you're also in a situation where you're touching the pucks a lot, which you're having to do, as you mentioned, under pressure a lot of the time. So they are a really good thing in practice. And I'd like to do them a little bit more than we do. I mean, there's little games that we try to end our practices with on a regular basis, because they do bring a lot of energy to our team. And I think they do the same thing for younger age players as well.
Yeah, there's so much great to it that carries over. We'll get to the here and now. I kind of actually start at the start of the season, and I have it on social media saying I predicted you guys would make the playoffs. So I'm hoping that comes true. So maybe one of the odd that had put it out there. But one thing that kind of just was great to me and what I saw, and it obviously was unfortunate to happen with Kevin Rooney at the start of the season and first game of Vancouver, where you guys were down and he got hurt. But something about just the way your team answered to that injury, that hit, what Anthony Mantha did, I feel like that kind of brought your team much closer together. And I'm not saying I'm that close to the team. It's just the way the training camp seemed to go for you guys and the expectations that you had at the start of the year. It wasn't a shock to see that response that your team had. But would you kind of say that maybe kind of puts the where your team's at in a whole, in terms of we're all in this together, and it doesn't matter if it's a new guy coming in his first year, his first game as a Flame, we're all in this fight together?
Yeah, I would. And when you go way back to our training camp, I appreciate you believing in us, because you're right.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a rallying cry earlier on in the year, because not a lot of outside voices or sources really thought much of our team and the players that we had here. But the important part for us as a staff was everybody within our walls did. And we had a feeling that if we could get ourselves off to a good start, then we can really build and create that belief within our group. And the game in Vancouver, I think, was twofold for us. We were really getting badly outplayed in the first period. And you mentioned Kevin got hit. They scored a couple times in the power plays, but at that moment, the team was kind of there for each other. And then the greater thing for me was we responded and played the right way in the second and third period, where we were skating, and the players took what we were trying to apply through training camp, and they played that style, and we were able to have success. And I think that was kind of the moment where, maybe more so for our older players, that there was a belief that, okay, well, maybe if we do play this way, then we have an opportunity to win some games. So let's give it a go. And we ended up rattling off a few wins in a row to start the year. And now I think because of that time, our players, maybe more importantly, have a really good understanding of how the team has to look and how we have to play in order for us to have success. And they are the first guys to recognize if we're not playing to our identity, which is something as a coaching staff we take a lot of pride in. That now our players kind of can police themselves a little bit when and if things start to slide.
Yeah. And obviously we saw, I guess, maybe we could say Jonathan Huber is a power forward now. I know
Yeah.
Kelly's been saying that, and Connie's been talking about it as well too. Um, what the conversation you and him had in the summertime, I believe, and I will respect that. That's a conversation between you two. But how excited and great is it to see him perform the way he has performed for you guys? I've seen him in Florida. He played with a good friend of mine in Petrovic, and I felt that team that they had the last one of the last years that Petrovic was there was a very close team, and the closest I've ever been around a team would be the team you have now. But it seems like Hubie and the rest of your group, and it's led by him in terms of what he's willing to do every single night and being that two-way player, but also that power forward. Can you talk about what he's been meant to your group and that message that you and him would have had at the start of the year or in the summertime as well?
Yeah, he's been very valuable for us. And the nice part on a personal level, I would say to start with, um, you feel really good for him because after two, you could probably say tougher years for him trying to get his feet under him in Calgary. He's kind of found his way here a little bit, and now you're starting to see the personality of Jonathan Huberdeau come out, where he's very much like some of our other younger players, or Ryan Lomberg, where he's got a ton of energy about him, and he makes the younger players in the room, in particular, feel really good about themselves. So we're seeing that now, where he's a guy that's really committed to trying to do whatever he has to do to help the team win. And I think a lot of people look at him on a daily basis and recognize that. And we talked about Vancouver in that first game of the year for us to kind of build belief. Well, without people like Jonathan kind of buying into that, it makes it that much more difficult. But I'm really happy for him because it has been a couple hard years for a player to kind of figure out his way. He was in Florida for a long time. That was a big trade that he was involved in, and now I feel like he's been able to turn the page, and he's kind of made Calgary home. And because of a lot of different reasons, we're seeing the very best of him. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm really happy for him because every day he comes to the rink now, you see the smile, you see the character that's coming out in him, and we're seeing the best hockey he's ever played for us.
Yeah, it's great to watch for sure, and kudos to him and being that leader on and off the ice as well too. Kind of sticking with the development that you guys have as well too with the organization between the NHL and the AHL team. And I know you've talked about it before in pressers and whatnot, but it seems like what the message you would have had at any point of the season, if it's at the start of the year, mid-year, towards the end, that whether you're a player that comes up, it seems like you guys get the most out of those players at the American Hockey League level when they come up to your level. And Matthew Coronado is one of the biggest examples where he went down, but he is now being that impactful player that you guys thought, and he is going to continue to be in the foreseeable future and a bright future. But is there a standard and an expectation as that you guys have in that organization that does so well? Because we just had Cassie Campbell Pascal on, and one of our recent episodes, and it's just we both in the conversation just saying it just the conversations are great and they're positive, but they're also there's a standard that you have to hit, and when they come up, they seem to be a great player for you, Ryan. And can you kind of dive in a little bit more and then why that would be?
Yeah, I think there's two reasons that I would say. One, I guess would start with Craig Conroy and Brad Pascal. The two of them I think they have a really good idea that you don't have to force players to be NHL ready, and I think they recognize the value of the American League and letting players mature there, and then bringing them up when they're ready. Because I think that's a situation where you often get the best out of them, where when they come up, they know it's their time and they're prepared to help your team win. So I think um, the strategy or mindset or whatever you want to call it in regards to letting players cook a little longer. People like to say that in the American League starts with Craig and Brad. And then I would say the second thing, when we get a player up here that whether it's an injury or we need a spark in our lineup or something like that, we have a lot of confidence in their ability to be used in certain situations because of the Wranglers coaching staff. You talk about development, Trent Cole, because of Brad Larson stepping away for his family. We're bringing him up
Yeah.
now, but a lot of these guys over the last couple of years aren't in the situation or aren't being used the way they are at this level without the work that Trent and his staff put in with these guys to make sure they were ready and confident and able to play in the situations that we needed. So the American League partnership, I think, is so valuable for an NHL team. And it starts with Craig and Brad and their message to the entire organization. But the staff that works with the Wranglers, they do a really good job of making sure that the guys are prepared. They do a great job of pushing and developing and teaching the same systems that we play with. And when a guy comes up here, expectation is you're just going to carry on and do what you do. And I feel like because of those two things, our coaching staff here has a lot of confidence in whoever we bring up that we can put them in and we know they'll get the job done.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch and see the reward that they put in at that level, and it goes over to the NHL level. We'll just finish up two more. Kevin Balls looks like he might be coming back in the lineup here. We'll see how that goes, and just having him back in the ice is probably a big thing for you. Can you talk about what he's meant to your back end and how great it is to kind of see what a player that did play a lot last year, and then you guys might not. I think maybe you said you didn't know what you really have, but what you have now is a great top four defenseman that solidifies your back end in such a great way.
Yeah, it was such a funny situation too, like a big part of a big trade.
Yeah,
And we didn't really know. We watched some games on video, but he was a younger guy. Played a lot of games last year with Jersey, like you talked about, but prior to that, not much. Um, so you're kind of trusting your pro scouts a little bit in that regard. Then at the same time in training camp, he had a small little injury that kept him out of the lineup. So we're like, how is this going to fit? Or is he going to be a good partner for Erasmus? Or where's this guy going to be here? But when he came in and played the two last of our two final exhibition games, we paired him with Raz, and you could see the chemistry that the two of them had together, which made us feel pretty good about things moving forward. But he's got impact, one, of course, because he's a big man and he's hard to play around or play through, but he's got a very good stick um, for a bigger man. Like he uses it to his advantage. And the one thing that maybe we weren't ready for, he's got a sneaky good skill set where he's capable of making plays. He's capable of getting involved in the offensive side of the game, and not just having to rely on his partner Rasmus to do that stuff. So he's been a real important player for us in a lot of different areas. And when he was out of our lineup prior to the Four Nations break, we missed him. And it was taking him out of the lineup was a big hole for us. And we're going to look forward to having him back as soon as he's ready to go, which we're hopefully will be our first game back.
it's awesome to see, and we'll see how that goes for him. We'll finish up on Michael Backlund. We heard what John Cooper said about Sidney Crosby, where he is probably uh, every reason why the game is good. When you look at a guy like Sidney Crosby, he's the definition of why our game is good on and off the ice. And I would put Michael Backlund in that category too, for the tangibles that he has not only off the ice but what he has on the ice. What has he meant for you in that whole leadership core of where the message that you and the staff want to pass on to the rest of the team? How great that is to continue that part where the message is staying the same and the room is staying in the vibe that it is with that great message and that great leader.
Yeah, I'll give you a short answer on that one. Like I think for a head coach, having someone like Michael is invaluable for a younger or first year head coach. And I will say, when I first got an opportunity to coach in the NHL, Mark Giordano was the guy around Calgary, and he basically grabbed hold of the other defenseman and said, "What he says is going to go." So basically we got your back because I played one game in the NHL. I'm not an NHL player. So you have to kind of earn your way in there. But because Mark did that early on for me, it allowed me to feel much more comfortable. Now, fast forward here till last year, there's a new chair and things. There's a lot of questions that get asked when a guy goes from an assistant to a head coach. And if you have some players that are maybe spinning their wheels or they're not quite sure about things, it's can become a pretty difficult transition. But similar to the way Mark was with me, Michael was the same way. So he grabbed hold of the room and was more about this is what we're doing, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. And I think because I had him kind of on my side, he's really worked to try to bring other people in the fold. And it kind of made it Michael's team, I would say. But we have a great relationship together. It probably goes back to our Kelowna days.
Yeah.
I trust him a lot, and I know he's had a huge impact on our team. The one beautiful thing that you talked about with him is he's so ingrained in the community with all the charities he's a part of. Anything that he can do to help a charity or a foundation, whatever the case may be, I don't know if I've ever heard of him saying no. He's such a wonderful person. Him and his wife, Frida, and their young family, they are true Calgarians, and they want what's best for the city. So he is a guy that you want to see have success, and I'd love nothing more for him to win a Stanley Cup, and I'd love for him to be able to do that in Calgary.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Ryan, thanks for your time. Continued success on the ice, off the ice. You are an amazing person, an amazing coach, and we are cheering for you guys here. And hopefully, it's a great long playoff run. And all the best to you and the staff that you have surrounded around you and your family as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. And again, I appreciate you believing in us early on.
No, anytime. I very biased to you guys for obvious reasons, but you guys, it's you as a coach, and I don't think maybe you get enough credit for that. But great to see it. It's going through the way it is and continued
Thank,
success.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks to Ryan Huska of the Calgary Flames for joining us on the 2 Months podcast. That was a really fun interview. Great to see the success that he has on the ice and off the ice as well too, and just an amazing person in the community and an amazing coach that has checked all the boxes. You look at in life where you talk about, you can't conquer one thing until you conquer something else, and not only has he conquered the coaching ranks at the junior level and the American Hockey League level, he is now doing that at the NHL level, and it's great to see things like that happening for him and his staff, because he does surround himself around a lot of amazing people. And again, everyone knows that we are very biased towards the Calgary Flames organization for obvious reasons. It's a first class organization that do first class things for everyone, their players, their staff, their fans, and I can even say for the people like myself that wears a media hat. I'm not here today if it wasn't for the Calgary Flames, and I know some people might not know my full story, but some that have, it's gone through my own personal struggles, and we appreciate the support that they give to our community. So, and it's great to see, and we're gonna have fun. This is gonna be a fun ride as down the stretch they go. It's pretty much game every second night, so we'll see how they move into that. They were running on fumes going into this break, so this break will be much needed for them, and they can get back going the way they were previous to that break. A lot of belief in that group, and it's hard to count out a guy like Michael Backlund and a coaching staff like that. I think with this getting Zari and a couple other guys back will be great for their trajectory too, and balance the lines a lot better in giving them a lot of different options where they're continue to be that strong four line team that are going to come at you at waves every single night with a hard forecheck and a great defensive aspect of their game. So great to the Flames again, and thanks to Peter Hanlon and Kelso and the rest of that group there for getting us Ryan on our pod. So definitely great success to him. And we're gonna have we'll have a couple other episodes coming up. It looks like we got I think Craig Button in the wing here at some point in the next day or two, and I think Jeff Merrick as well. So stay tuned to that, to our socials. But again, thanks for everyone for supporting us here at the 2 Months Hockey Podcast. And we'll have a lot of fun as we keep going here on the pod. Thanks everyone.